Rappin' with ReefBum is sponsored by Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Rappin' with ReefBum. I'm your host, Keith Berkelhamer. So today I have the pleasure of welcoming hobbyist Rocky Eliseo to the show. What's going on there, Rocky?
Hey Keith, I'm good. I'm so happy to be on your YouTube channel. Finally, speaking with you. I'm excited. A lot of people has actually messaged me before. I wish you can be at on ReefBum, so it finally happened.
Oh yeah, no. Well, listen, I'm really excited to have you on the show. You're a very special reef keeper, and I'm really looking forward to digging in to hear about your methods, and we'll show some of the pictures of your incredible 270-gallon reef tank. But you're doing us a solid tonight, Rocky, because you're in Germany. So right now it's 1 o'clock in the morning,
Yes.
right?
It's 1 a.m. and we're doing this. Nothing can stop us.
Well, my last show I had 2 weeks ago, I had my guest was in Qatar, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning. Tony Vargas. So we
Oh, he's in Qatar.
Yeah, he's in Qatar. So, but I think we were close to 2 hours. I mean, Tony could just talk forever and ever. So it wasn't that big of a deal for him. But I'm going to be mindful for you because I know you're over there for work purposes. So you can't be up at all hours of the night, right?
It's all right.
So I know a lot of folks know Rocky from Instagram, and he's known as the Coralito. Did I pronounce that right, Rocky?
Correct.
On Instagram, he's got like over 28,000 followers. So I'm sure he's not. Once we start going through some of the pictures of his tank, you're gonna know who Rocky is. So he's got a huge following on Instagram. His I mentioned he's got a 270-gallon aquarium. It was featured recently in the May-June 2023 edition of Coral Magazine, and it's a custom peninsula tank which was set up just 3 years ago. He also has 4 other reef tanks, and Rocky started keeping fish at the age of 8, but has only been keeping reef tanks for the past 4 years. So besides Coral Magazine, he's been featured in other publications and on various YouTube channels. I'm definitely psyched to have him on my channel. Before we start chatting with Rocky, though, I want to thank both Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine for sponsoring the live stream. And I also want to thank all you folks out there for tuning in. Spread the word, please. We got almost 50 people watching, only 9 likes, so we got to get those likes up there to get more people into the stream. And always comments and questions are welcome. We will do our best to incorporate all that stuff. So, Rocky, I mentioned that you got into fish keeping at the very young age of 8. How can you kind of tell us about your journey? I mean, how you got into fish keeping and how you morphed into a reef keeper?
It actually started. I think it started with my dad taking us to my late dad taking us to the river when we were kids. I grew up in the province or the countryside of the Philippines, and he would always like take us to the river, and we do fishing. And then so we take the fish home, and he would put the fish in the bucket, and before we eat them, he would let us play with the fish. So I think that's how it started. I think that's how it started with the fish, and then he built us a small little pond outside the house, and I had mollies, guppies when I was 8, like, and then everywhere I go, I moved to Manila, to the city. I would still have aquarium. Like my relatives, my aunts would tell me like everywhere you go, you always have fish.
So it kind of
And
runs in the
then
family, huh?
Yeah, and then I moved to the US 8 years ago, and the first thing I did was to build the koi pond.
Wow.
Yeah, um, and then in 2019, before COVID, I wanted to have an aquarium, and my family said that you can only have an aquarium, but it needs to be saltwater aquarium. And I was like, you guys are crazy because I don't have any experience with the saltwater. They're all gonna die. So I took that as a challenge. So I did I did have my first saltwater aquarium at a time, and, at first it was okay. They all lived only for a couple weeks because I thought, I was like, you know what, maybe I can do the saltwater aquarium. I mean, I was able to keep, freshwater koi fish. I raised them from eggs, the koi.
Wow.
So I think the saltwater is the same. So I had my saltwater tank, and then after a couple weeks, all of the fish died
Oh, wow.
because I did not actually cycle the water, because I didn't know that I have to cycle the water, because in freshwater side, even though it is recommended to cycle, still I was able to get away with not cycling the water. So I thought it's the same with the salt water. So it's funny because before all the fish died, we went to my local fish store, and at the time, of course, I didn't do any research, so I didn't have any testers. So, but I took the water sample to the local fish store because I was planning to buy some more fish.
Right.
Okay, so I took my water sample, and the guy said, "Oh, I can't sell you more fish because your tank has high nitrates, or high nitrite, actually nitrite."
Right.
I was like, "What do you mean? All my fish are happy, we left the house, they were eating, they were smiling." So he said, he said, "No, I'm not selling you more fish." And funny enough, when we went home, all the fish died.
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah,
Well, that
but since
good for the LFS
Mhm.
for not selling you the fish.
Yes, actually, yeah, they're a very good LFS. But since then, I started researching, and yeah, and here I am right now.
So I think we got a few folks in the audience here that Sass Bath, hi from South Beach. I know Rocky, so I don't know if you know Sass. That's an interesting name, Sass. Christopher Garcia, go Rocky.
Hi, Chris.
E46 Wagon Lover, hi from Coral Springs, Florida. Christopher Garcia worked with Rocky for some time before finding out that he was the coral god.
Yeah, we work in the same. We used to work in the same department, but we still work in the same company. So
Cool.
So we talk a lot about reef tanks.
All right, so there's a lot going on here, Rocky. I mean, I'm just really impressed that. Let me start showing the spread in Coral Magazine in terms of the 270-gallon tank, and thanks to Coral Magazine for letting me use the pictures from the spread. So you're standing in front of the 270-gallon tank right there, and here's more of the spread. I see that there's your equipment list. You're a GHL person, right? I see the KH director in there, and I see some dosers, and I see the Proflux on a tablet, it looks like. And yeah, it's just more. I love that sump there, Rocky. You got it's all stickered out.
Yeah, all of the reefers around the world.
Oh, is that what it is?
I was like, yeah. So I was like, oh, all of these reefers made it to the Coral Magazine.
Ah, cool. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm showing some kind of closer shots of the 270-gallon tank. It's man, you the meat corals at the bottom. You've got some beautiful clams, some frog spawn, some hammer corals. You got acros near the top. That's you jamming a lot of corals in there, man.
Yeah, I know. It's like coral hoarder.
So tell everybody, you know, I mean, 4 years with a reef tank, and you've got to achieve this kind of success and notoriety. I mentioned you've been on other YouTube channels and featured in Coral Magazine, which is a very impressive feat. How did you go from, you know, I'm assuming you started with some small reef tanks to a 270-gallon tank. Why did you go so big so fast early in your reef keeping career?
Okay, so I started with 50-gallon, and that was, you know, I killed the fish. And then when I finally started to know what to do and started to put corals, and because I started the saltwater tank because I just want fish, saltwater fish. I just wanted clownfish. And then as I researched, I was like, oh, corals are actually more fun. So when I actually realized how to take care of them, and you know, as I buy more corals, you know, reef addiction. As I buy more corals, I said, you know what, 50-gallon tank is not that big, and we have space at home. So I started to look on like Craigslist because I can't afford new fish tanks. So I started to check Craigslist, offer up, and then there was this 150-gallon aquarium, you know, still running in an office building. It was like, I think it's running for 8 years, but they don't really have corals. They have fish, but they have all these live rocks. You know, imagine 150 gallons full of live rocks, and I love live rocks. And they wanted to get rid of it for only $500 with the sump, with the stand, and everything, with the, you know, including the live rocks and the fish. So that was my first. I mean, my first upgrade, which is my second tank. That happened, I would say, I think after 5 months or 6 months after I got my first tank. So, and then we needed to, so when I have the 150-gallon, we needed to do some, you know, so some floor tile work at home. So we said, you know what, that's actually a good time to upgrade.
Oh,
So
no way.
after a year, yeah, after a year of getting the 150, I looked again on Craigslist, and I saw this 270 gallon that I have right now, in a guy's garage in Miami, and he was selling it for $1,500 with all the stands, sump, return pump, the skimmer, but just it wasn't running, so just tank stand, some skimmer, return pump for 1,500. So
Wow.
what you're seeing right now, my tank is actually only $1,500.
Wow. That's so. This is
Yeah.
was it a
So
custom aquarium, or was it actually a really?
yeah, it's a custom. Yeah. So that was 3 years ago.
Do you remember? Do you know who made it? Which company made the aquarium? No.
No, unfortunately, no, because the guy that I tanked from, he was the second owner, so he don't remember.
Gotcha.
So I'm actually the
So
third owner.
I'm going to show the tank again here. So this is a peninsula tank. What are the dimensions on it, Rocky?
It is 3660 by 29 inches.
29 tall.
Yeah.
That's a tall reef tank. How do you like that in terms of the height? And has that been a challenge for you in terms of getting down to the bottom?
Well, well, I'm not tall, I'm short. So
I'm like
I
6'1",
have
and I have
to,
trouble getting down to the bottom of my 24-inch tall tank.
right. Yeah, it is difficult. I honestly hate the fact that I can't reach the bottom of the tank. And believe it or not, I I got bashed about that,
Oh, really?
on Instagram, all the haters on
Yeah,
Instagram.
yeah, they're there.
But yeah, definitely it's kind of difficult to maintain the tank, but I manage.
Hydrospace LLC. Nice to see that Hydrospace sticker.
Oh yeah.
Jonathan Palmquist, Rocky, awesome to see a reefer like him local is so flow and been able to see his tank in person. Truly inspiring. Yeah, looks like it. So tell us a little bit about the tank, Rocky. Is it so it's a peninsula tank, and I'm assuming that you have an external overflow box in that. Is that correct?
Exner.
Like the overflow box on the outside of the tank versus being on the inside, or is it like a built-in overflow box?
Yeah, it's a built-in.
Built-in. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And do you have like I didn't notice. Is there like Euro bracing on the thing, or is it like a rimless tank?
It ha it has the glass
Okay.
brace.
Yep. Euro
Yeah.
bracing. What was I
Okay.
going to ask you? So flow wise, what are you doing for flow?
Oh, I call myself a flow chaser. For me, flow is so important. Um, it's like one of the things in the reef tank that if I'm not happy with the flow in my reef tank, I won't be able to sleep at night. So that is like one or number one or number two that I have to like, to have it. I have to have a perfect flow. So with the flow, I have the reflow
Yep.
thing that I attach to the
Return. Yep.
return, so it moves um, left to right, and then I have um, 5 other wave makers, and all of them are like kind of like, because I like to play with my flow until I'm happy. So all of them are kind of like pointing to the surface of the tank. So so they kind of like, when they meet in the middle, they kind of like, you know,
Washing
um,
machine effect
have
there.
this. Yes. So even though the tank is so high, I still have a good flow at the bottom, even though I don't really have the wave maker pointed at the bottom.
And sand in the bottom, right? There's sand. It's a sand bed.
Yeah, there's
Yep.
sand. Yeah.
Yep. Have you found that to be a challenge on a peninsula tank in terms of? You said how long is it again?
I have it set up for 3 years.
I mean, in terms of the length, how the
Oh, the
length of the
how
tank is
660.
60. Yeah, so that's that you're talking 5 feet there. I know because I got a peninsula tank it's 6 foot long, and it definitely mine is like an SPS dominant tank, so it's it's a challenge for me to. I didn't even think about keeping sand in that tank. That was like the first bare bottom tank I ever had, was the peninsula tank. So yeah, it's peninsula tanks have their challenges in terms of flow for sure.
Yeah.
How so I should have asked you this earlier, but 4 years keeping reef tanks. It's such a beautiful system, and obviously you put a lot of thought into the equipment, which we'll get more into and all that stuff. But did you have any like mentors, people that you were following, or did you just do a lot of research on the forums or reading books? What was how did you learn to kind of come to learn all this stuff and have such an incredible setup?
At first, I was just, you know, joining Facebook groups. That's what I did, joining Facebook groups and reading other people's issues. So that's what I'm able to learn from other people's issues. And of course, I also post there. But you know, when you post, you kind of open yourself to, you know, criticism. So so I post, I read people's, you know, issues, and along the way, I met a lot of people too on Facebook, and I was able to like talk to them. And now I have, you know, big people in the industry that I talk to as well. But yeah, the big thing really was to join Facebook groups, read people's posts, their issues, and learn from it.
Yeah, that's great. You I think you've got several sponsors too, right? Of the that sponsoring your reef keeping journey. So that's pretty incredible.
Yes.
Being in only for a few years. In terms of like lighting, what will we see in there, Rocky? In terms of lighting on the tank?
Right now, I have the Illumagic X4. I have 5 of them as the main lights, and then the vitamin E strip, of course, also Illumagic, and also I have 8 Illumagic pixels. So if you think about it, I have like 15 Illumagic lights.
Wow, how did you settle on those lights? I mean, what do you like about them?
um, Actually, that light is also the lights are also sponsored by the Lua. So when
Gotcha.
I change my lights, of course, when you change your lights, because you know the anxiety, you know, of changing the lights is there. Make sure that the corals are, you know, will like it. And so far, I have the lights since I think February or January. I installed it, and we're July, so my corals are liking it. So if my corals are liking it, I'm liking it
Yeah,
too.
that's the key thing,
So
right?
yeah,
The corals, if the corals are happy, then you know you're doing something right. You know.
yeah. The lights are pretty. They're pretty powerful.
What
And they have good
I
spectrum
was going to
too.
ask you, what kind of spectrum are you running?
Um, I love full spectrum. I didn't really I don't really test. I don't have the spectrum test, but on the app you can kind of like see, you know, the spectrum that you're getting with the X4. But of course, I also like try to, you know, to mimic the sun and all that. So at first I have like just all blue for a couple hours, and then in the middle of the day full spectrum, and then, you know, ramp down all blue.
Yeah, now I noticed on your Instagram you're not showing a ton of like blue light pictures, which is kind of refreshing.
I love full spectrum.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
What about filtration, chemical filtration? Are you using activated carbon, using you know, anything else in terms of filtration?
Yeah, I have activated carbon in there. I have the Aquachar. I have that Aquachar for like a couple years now. Um, some live rocks, and then I have a deep sand bed on my refugium.
Oh, you got a refugium in there.
Yeah, with Kato.
Gotcha. What so what was it I ask you? That's interesting. You know, do you find that the Cato is easier or kind of hard to keep? I mean, has it crashed on you every now and then?
No, they're thriving. Yeah, I love to see my Cato. So yeah, they're definitely thriving. I haven't had um dying Cato so far.
Corey Y, this is Kaori. Very proud of you. Triple exclamation point.
Thank you.
Are you dosing any like anything special for to keep the Cato, you know, thriving and happy, like any iron or what have you, any other trace elements?
Yeah, I don't do water changes
No water changes, huh?
since no change. Yeah, no water change for like 2 years now. So I dose a lot of, trace elements, individual elements. I use the Reef Moonshiners method, and I started to incorporate ATI elements as well. So I'm running both ATI elements and Reef Moonshiners. So with Reef Moonshiners, you dose individual
Yep.
elements such as iron, manganese, cobalt, chromium, boron, barium, all of those. So yeah.
Are you doing like monthly ICP tests to gauge what you need to dose?
At first, I did every 2 weeks, to kind of like know your tank. It is important to know your tank. So I did that for, I would say, for half a year. I did so three, yeah, for half a year, for 6 months, I did every 2 weeks. And then when I finally got the average of the consumption, now I'm doing it for like every 2 to 3 months now
Got ya. That's interesting. So you
instead of 2 weeks.
yeah, so you
Yeah.
did it very frequently and just basically came up with averages.
Yeah. And then every time I do the ICP test, I just kind of like adjust it because they don't really consume same amount of elements every day.
Right.
So they change. So
Who are you using for an ICP tester?
at first ATI, but with the Reef Moonshiners, they recommend Oishama now.
Yeah.
So that's what I use
Yeah.
now.
And yeah, they forget what they got a mass spectrometer, I think, right? So they actually can get drilled down pretty good in terms of the different elements that report out.
Yeah, yeah.
What, so
And they test more elements too.
right. So what about calcium and alkalinity supplementation? What are you doing on that front?
Since I started, I've been using the bulk reef supply, soda ash, and also their two-part, the calcium chloride.
Gotcha. And what is so like key element? I mean pH. What's your pH range?
It runs between 8.2 to 8.4.
Yeah, nice. And what about other key parameters like nitrate, phosphate?
Oh, I run very high nutrients. A lot of people are surprised about it that I can keep the SPS. I don't really test my my nutrients. I don't remember the last time I test, but the last time my nitrate was 60.
Whoa.
And my phosphate was 0.17.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And any algae issues in that tank?
Oh no, my Tangang take care of those.
Your tangs.
Yeah.
Tang gang. Wow, that's pretty incredible. So did you have like an ugly stage at the beginning with that tank, or did you use like the live rock that you already had that was mature live rock?
Yeah, no ugly stages at all because I use live rocks. So that's why I always recommend to use live rocks because you kind of like skip the line.
You're not a dead rock person?
No, I love live rocks.
I'm with you, man. I've had mixed bag with mostly bad stuff with dry rock. So I think the key is to be able to find the live stuff. But there are a couple of vendors out there that do sell it, like KP Aquatics and Tampa Bay Saltwater. Where did you get your live rock from?
It was from in the office building.
Oh, right. Oh, so you held on to
That
that
one.
stuff. Nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
the 150 gallon tank that I found with the live rocks. So as far as I remember, they told me the office people, I don't know what they were doing, but the guy said the live rocks was like 10 years old.
Nice.
So I
Score. That's a
actually have a
score.
very old. Yeah, I was like I was so excited. So right now I probably have 15-year-old live rocks.
Well, I'll tell you, like even if for anybody that's out there that's got a reef tank and you got maybe you started with dry rock and now it's live rock and you're thinking about taking a break from the hobby or quitting, hold on to that live rock.
Yes, right.
But
I'm keep if I stop reefing, I'll keep the live rocks.
yeah, all you need is like a big
Who knows?
Rubbermaid tub, some power heads,
Yeah,
throw some food in there every once in a while, and you're good.
yeah.
You're good. So what about UV sterilizer? Do you use that?
Yes, I use the UV sterilizer for over a year now. I used to not running it, but when I used it last year, I definitely saw the things that I missed out for 2 years.
What so what do,
I had so
so what do you think the
mhm.
benefits are for the UV with the UV in the tank?
The first thing that I noticed was clear water, um, and the fish are more like clean looking. Yeah, they look healthier. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, I've been running UV, but actually I'm doing an experiment now and not running the UV to kind of see what the differences are. So gotta
Mhm.
do it over the a longer period of time
Yeah,
to kind of see what
yeah,
the end result is. But it's interesting.
yeah. I love experimenting too. So
So, all right, I mentioned at the beginning when we showed that picture of the I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was this picture here. Yeah, in the Coral Magazine spread that you've got GHL equipment. So I see that you got that the cage director, the Proflux 4, some dosers. Is anything else in terms of automation and monitoring that is going on with your tank?
um, aside from the GHL, I also have a couple of roller mats. I finally was able to get rid of the filter socks because I hate to wash filter socks. So yeah, I have roller mats now.
Yeah, I've never tried roller mats. That's always something
Mm,
that I've thought about, but I don't know. I've always had the filter socks and always spent time just washing them out every week.
yeah,
But it's I think with the roller mats, it's a lot easier to maintain, right? You just don't have to worry about the
yeah,
roller mats for a long
yeah.
time.
It's definitely less maintenance.
So you mentioned no water changes. Any what kind of maintenance do you do though on a regular basis if there's no water changes?
Um, right now, I would. So hmm, that's actually a very good question. But cleaning the skimmer, cleaning the skimmer, and then disturbing the sand, the sand bed, because sometimes they get ugly,
Yeah, what do
and then
you?
cleaning the.
I was
Mhm.
going to ask you what do you do to the sand bed?
I just disturb them.
So like a little section every time you just kind of get it
Yeah,
turn it up a little bit.
yeah, just disturb it, and they're fine.
Do you do any siphoning of the sand bed? Do you have any critters in the sand to help do some of that work for you?
Yeah, I have some snails, and hermits. So yeah, but sometimes I get lazy.
Yeah, and I also find that those are things that you always kind of need to replenish over time too.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Which,
no
rem-
sand bed siphoning, huh?
no.
Interesting, interesting. Um, all right, so in terms of other chores that you do maintenance wise, what else is on your list?
I also do power filter. Um, so what I would do is, so my return is external, and then I have like a what do you call it, like uh, the thing that you attach to the return pump, return pipe. So I have like I cover it with the filter, the white filter pads,
Okay.
and then all of the water gets in there to the return pump. So that's the power filter.
Almost like a
I do
almost
that.
like a diatom filter type of thing, or is it different?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Like a
So I do that.
canister filter, maybe that's what it is.
Mm,
Maybe not.
yeah, maybe.
You're doing some
But it's
extra.
kind of
You're
like,
doing some extra mechanical filtration, I guess, is what I'm hearing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like covering your return pump with a filter pad.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like additional filtration. So I do that once in a while for 2 to 3 days, and then I also do micro bubbles
So
once in a while.
explain why you do that.
Um, well, as I research about reef tanks, I met also Cruz. I forget his name, the micro bubble guy,
Okay.
and he explained to me about the benefits of it, and also I was able to read some. So I tried to do it, and I noticed my SPS likes it. Every time I do it, they get crazy polyp extension, maybe because of the bubbles and stuff, and also the water gets clearer too every time I do it. Plus, it helps a little bit with the pH.
So what exactly are you doing to create those micro bubbles?
So I have um, the air pump outside the house. So it is very important that you have the air coming outside of the house, so it's fresh and not inside the house. So I have it running from the outside to the return pump, and then um and then the return pump just go crazy with the bubbles.
Gotcha. And how long do you run that for?
Um Initially I did it overnight for 2 weeks every day,
Wow.
but now I only do it every other week for 2 days,
Gotcha.
for 2 hours.
Gotcha. Do you have that like on a kind of like on a timer setup type of thing, or do you have to actually do it manually?
Yeah, I do it manually because the tank is kind of like is in the middle of the house, so it's difficult to run a pipe, in between.
What was the other? So, have you had any issues with this tank? I mean, any problems that have propped up, any cyano
Mm.
issues, or you mentioned you haven't had any problematic algae, no
Mhm.
dinos, I'm assuming, any pests, any kind of like hiccups that or hurdles that you've had to jump over along the way.
I get cyano once sometimes. I think cyano is in every tank.
Yeah,
Some people may disagree, but that's just my observation. But it's just a matter of um, them like populating. I don't know. But yeah, sometimes I get them, but I would just dose some bacteria, and sometimes I would just disturb them, those bacteria, and they would just disappear, and then kind of fix the nutrient level as well. Yeah, I get that cyano, and sometimes I see some bubble algae, but the tanks would eat them. Um, and also, right now, I've been dealing with the green mushrooms. There's so many in the tank,
green mushrooms.
because yeah, the green mushrooms, the what do they call this Kosoma mushroom,
Okay,
the green ones. So I have those, and I've been like fighting to get rid of them, but they're so difficult to get rid of.
they were like a hitchhiker.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, I think that's one of the biggest issues that I'm like really encountering right now.
Yeah. No. Yeah. There are some. invasive corals out there that will just you know, xenia or whatever. There's just like some corals that'll go crazy. I saw on the I think it was on the overflow, you had the green star polla. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah. And they're covering my overflow.
Oh yeah.
That's why sometimes my video you see the center brace, you see the center brace because what they call the GSP is covering the overflow. So sometimes my water level goes to the center brace.
That was like the first coral that I ever had seen, I think, in a local fish store that just really, I was enamored with it, you know, because it's bright green and it's kind of has that really cool flow, and it just spreads all over the place, which can be a problem. But I love green star polyp, and you know, one of these days I'm gonna get a frag and put a little rock island or something like that, and just be able to manage it that way versus letting it spread on the main reef. In reading your Aquarium Portrait and Coral magazine, I saw that I think you mentioned that you don't like to use chemicals. So you mentioned you've had, you know, some bouts of cyano. Talk to us about that in terms of the use of chemicals versus not using chemicals to treat a problem.
Yeah, I definitely try to avoid using chemical. I think that there's, you know, there are natural methods to get rid of the issues, and then of course, if you use all this natural remedy or then you can use chemicals, but definitely try to avoid using chemicals.
I see Reef Keeper says,
because
oh, go ahead.
Because sometimes they bring more issues than fixing it. Yeah,
I agree. It's kind of like a domino effect, you know. If and a lot of times, especially with cyano, it potentially, if you don't get to the source of the problem and you hit it with you know, chemicals to get rid of the cyano, then eventually that stuff will come back. Reef Keeper is saying inject Kalk paste into the mouth of the green shrooms and they are super easy to remove. Sort of dissolves them. My 58 was covered in them, and I used Kalk paste to control them. Yeah, I use Kalk paste too sometimes to zap out whatchamacallit, those little anemones, the completely spacing out.
Aptasia.
Yeah. Oh, great bird. I have plenty of green. I might take you up on that, Paul. Green star polyp. So the other thing I wanted to ask you, Rocky, is you mentioned what you're doing in terms of dosing trace elements. What about, and you mentioned bacteria dose. Just curious, what bacteria do you do bacteria dosing on a regular basis, or only when you need to?
I like to dose them regularly, like every 3 to 4 months. I use the PNS Bio from Kenneth. So I use that, and sometimes I would use those little vials.
Yeah.
I forget the name. Protibio.
Yeah, Protibio. Yeah.
So those two. Yeah.
The PNS, is that something that you can do every 3 to 4 months? I thought that was something that you always had to do like on a daily basis, but you're saying that you don't do that.
Yeah, I mean you can probably do every day, but I mean it's gonna be expensive, so I would just do it every 3 to 4 months.
I saw that. I was looking. I was like, oh man. I mean, if you got to do this on a daily basis, then that could get to be a little pricey. And you know, I mean, listen, there's stuff in this hobby that can be expensive, but you don't want to like go overboard and stuff like that. But interesting, yeah. The other thing I was going to ask you, what about coral food? You dosing any coral food?
Oh, coral food. I like to target feed, so I use the Brightwell, the Reef Blizzard S for the SPS, and O for the LPS. So I mix it with a little bit of Reef Roids, because with Reef Roids the corals really like react right away. So I put them, but of course, since I have very high phosphate or nutrients, so I only put a little bit, just enough to for the corals to react to the food. And then I would also put a little bit of Ocean Magic from Algae Barn or Fido, and then I mix it and I target feed them. But those are my go-to foods.
Gotcha. And you pretty much do that on a daily basis?
The corals will probably love you if you do it every day, but with my, schedule, I used to do it every other day, and my corals really love it. I can really see the difference. But now I only like do it every 3 days a week.
Gotcha. But I mean, what do you think is like been the biggest, aha moment in terms of, the reef keeping, with your methods and all that stuff? What have you found to be kind of like the a game changer in terms of the way your corals is kind of, I think every reef tank, there's kind of like that point in time where the tank kind of just kicks into overdrive and the corals are all happy and they're growing and they're thriving. Was there anything that you were doing to kind of, get your tank to that place? Because, like I said, your tank is chock full of corals, so obviously there's a lot of happy campers in there.
Yeah, definitely the no water change, and dosing individual elements. I would never do water change again. I would, yeah. I mean, doing water change works too, but you just gotta find the best, salt, and you have to do it regularly, as just like me dosing my tank regularly. So it's like the same. So, but you gotta keep doing it. And doing water change, it depends also, if you have a big tank or a small tank. With small tank, you can probably just get away with, just doing water change. But again, like I said, you have to find the almost perfect salt. And then also, of course, you have to also know your tank. What I meant by that is, you have to know what's in your water. So by sending ICP tests, by testing your water, that you will be able to know your tank. So whether you do water change or dosing, you have to definitely know your tank. And then, so yeah, no water change. And also, just like you, I also, do my own testing, because, as they said, and I agree, every tank is different. So it doesn't mean that, your method works for you, will work for me, or my method, will work for you. So I do a lot of testing myself too. And then, if it doesn't work, I kind of like do my U-turn.
Yeah.
So I heard before that if you have high nutrients, you don't have to feed your corals. So I stopped feeding my corals for a few months, and I don't know. I feel like my corals slowly, grow. So I started feeding them again. I see them more happier. So I'm like, oh, aha, I have to feed my corals.
Well, there you go, man.
So definitely feed your corals. Definitely. So even though sometimes I'm tired, I have to feed my corals. Like, oh, it's been a long time since I feed my corals. I have to feed them. Yeah.
They got to eat sometime, right? What about amino acid? Do you dose aminos?
I used to, but for some reason, if I dose, maybe I do it a lot, but if I dose amino acid, some of my frags would not like it. So I stopped doing amino acid. So I hear that if you have like an established tank, if you don't really need the amino acid, especially you also dose other trace elements. So yeah, I stopped doing amino acid.
Yeah, I mean, there's always like things that you can experiment with, and I've done that, and you got to give like a fair amount of time to kind of see if something is going to work or not work, and that's the cool thing about this hobby. There's just so many different things. There's so many different things you can do to a reef tank, and so many variables. But that's like the fun part of it too, is kind of playing around with things. But I also think, and I think
Yeah.
you said this in the article, is that it's important not to do multiple things at once, right? New things.
Correct. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because if you do multiple things at once, you would never understand your tank, or you would never find, what's causing the issue. And then since you're doing, things all at once, you don't know what caused it. So definitely take it easy and just do one thing at a time. Plus, if you do, one thing, you don't expect it. Like you said, it takes a while for you to see a result. You don't expect like the next day it fixes it, and you would like already think, oh, this issue, this step is not working, but you've only done it for a day or just last day. So
Yeah, no, that's a very important thing. What about pests? I mean, you mentioned the mushrooms. That's kind of a pest, but have you encountered any
yeah,
other coral pests coming into the system? And if so, what have you done to get rid of them or battle them?
um, I had those tiny flatworms, the planaria
Yep.
worms. So yeah, they're not really. They said they don't really eat
Yeah.
corals, but they of course they irritate them. So I had those. I don't know where I get them, but I did use chemicals though. I don't know what kind of, because it's a big tank. So if I rely with just RAS, I think I would need a lot of RASes. So I use the flatworm exit, and it helped.
Yeah. Oh, so you had like the red planaria or whatever they were that just
Yeah,
got
those
all over the place.
little tiny ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the LPS.
There is a semi-risk, right, in using the flatworm exit. It is risky,
Yeah,
right?
that. Yeah, I think any chemicals that you will use definitely would is risky, but you gotta just um make sure to follow the instructions.
So another thing that I saw in the Coral Magazine profile is that you mentioned that you talked a lot about learning from early failures. What were some of those, and what did you learn?
Definitely not cycling the tank.
That was one.
Not researching. That's definitely the biggest one. And I'm not, I it's okay to talk about that. Yeah, that's definitely the big one. And then um, hmm, what else? Yeah, and definitely doing, a lot of things at once, because, we get impatient sometimes. But yeah,
Yeah, I've fallen into that trap many times, doing multiple things at once. It's pretty easy to do.
yes.
Um, let's start to talk about corals, Rocky. And you are entered in the Top Shelf Aquatics
Oh
Coral
yeah,
Smackdown. Can you, for
yes.
those that don't know what this contest is all about, can you explain what's happening here and what you're tasked with in terms of this contest?
Yeah, so it's Top Shelf. It's a coral grow out contest. It's Top Shelf Coral Smackdown. So TSA will send us. Well, some of them already got their frags, but I'm here in Germany, so they will send us 6 frags, like really high end corals, high end frags worth like $2,500
Wow.
worth of frags. One of them is, the rainbow splice, which I couldn't afford to have it, but now I finally will be able to have
Nice.
it for free. So yeah, we will have to grow it for 6 months, and they will be based. The winner will be. They will be based from, the growth, the coloration and the over health of the corals. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. Originally, it's actually going to be just 5 of us: Polo Reef, Queen of Reef, Inappropriate Reefer, and Remy. Originally, the plan was just the. I hate to call myself influencer, but originally it's just gonna be influencer. But since Reef Builder got involved, they wanted to make it big, so they opened another spot, for public. So they applied, and 2C got the final spot, which I'm happy.
Hey, Joe's an influencer anyway.
Yes.
You're talking about Joe Muscat, right? 2C Corals. He's past guest, and he's going to be coming up on the again, and then I think in September. But yeah, all right. So how do they figure out, like, I mean, obviously with photography and videography and whatnot, stuff can look not
Yeah.
like it does in person.
Yeah, I actually kind of okay, that's interesting, because every tank, we all have different lighting, so the coloration would kind of be difficult to to judge. But I don't know how they're gonna do with the coloration. But with the growth, they will be sending us a ruler.
Oh, they're sending you
And
a
then
ruler.
every month, yeah, every month we would take a picture and send it to TSA.
Interesting. Yeah, it well, that should be pretty cool. And so I think another thing that is interesting about you, Rocky, is that you're also into photography, right?
Yes, I actually, before reefing, I'm into photography. And then when I knew about corals, I started to take pictures. And that's actually the reason why I opened my Instagram account. It's because of the photography. So I was taking pictures of the corals and was like, oh, this is actually nice looking. Why don't I open a reefing Instagram account and just post my pictures there? So anything that has happened with everything right now is just happened. It wasn't planned. So it was just all about pictures, and from there I got sponsorship.
Oh, really? So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
what can you give anybody give us some tips out there in terms of some tips and tricks in terms of photography, videography for Instagram?
Well, I have a Canon DSLR, so that's what I use for mostly um, for photos. And sometimes if I am not lazy enough, I would, because they kind of heavy, and you have to set up the settings. So sometimes I would use it also for videos, but most of the time I would just use my iPhone, and I would just use the orange glasses.
Yep.
If the tank is too blue, then I would use it. And if it's full spectrum, there's an app that I use to take videos of the tank. It's called Aquarium app. It's a photography where you can kind of play with the reds and the blue. It's called Aquarium app.
Aquarium app.
And that works for full spectrum.
Gotcha. I discovered an app that is also free. Have you ever heard of Adobe Premiere Rush?
Yes. Yeah.
I like that a lot because it does what you're talking about. You can adjust the. So I do use my iPhone, and I use I forget what lenses I use, but I got a couple of lenses, like orange lens, yellow lens, whatever it is. I use a couple lenses at the same time, and then I use the Adobe Premiere Rush to go in and just kind of take a little bit of the blue out, do a little sharpening. It's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
That's yeah. I mean that's a big part of it, right? So I mean, over 28,000 followers. Jeez, that's pretty big, man. That's really impressive.
Thank you.
So I mean, other favorites in terms of corals that you have currently in your tank. I mean, I mentioned you've got a lot of meat corals in that tank, and you've got Acropora. But if do you have any favorites in terms of acros?
I love the millies because they're hairy. I like to see the hair.
Those
So
polyps
definitely
waving in the current.
yes, definitely the millies are like my top acropora. Yeah.
Any particular one? Are you into the whole name game thing? You just don't care what the names are. You just like what they look like.
No, I hate the names, so I just buy the corals if I see them. If I like them, I buy them. Whether they're no names, I or with names, if I like them, I would buy them. But yeah, I'm not really into names.
So you're not into the whole rainbow tenuous craze?
No, but I would have some though with TSA.
There you go. Um, oh, piano outlet. How do you maintain the tank while in Germany?
Oh, well, with GHL, it's definitely helpful. With you really have to have a controller. Like it definitely helps. Whether you go on vacation or not, it definitely helps. Um, like I said, you have to know your tank. You need to know your water. So with controller, you kind of do that there too. So yeah, I have the controller. If I see my out go down, I would just adjust the dosing. Um, if my pH goes up, I would also adjust my Kalk dosing. And then I have family back home, so but I don't. I have trust issues with I don't ask them to touch the water. I said never touch the water unless I say never touch the water. So they would just feed the fish every other day. So that's the only thing that they have to do. And also, of course, check the auto top off container, make sure there's still water, and also check the dosing lines as well. That's it. But I told them never touch the water unless I say so.
Yeah, I had a situation last week. I was on vacation for the week, and we had a person come and stay at our house sit our dog, but she also feeds the fish for me, and I kind of have the same policy. I don't really have to do much except for feed the fish, but I was a
Yeah.
little nervous because before that vacation, on one of my systems, my ATO crapped out on me. So I had no automatic top off going on, and I do dose a lot of Kalkwasser. So
Yeah.
I do that at on the reverse light cycle. So that's a big portion of my top off is through dosing the Kalkwasser. But so I've got like webcams all over the place, and so I've got webcams trained. I had a webcam on that sump, and I just like every
Yeah.
hour I was looking at the water level on that sump. And what I did was I kind of jury rigged something. I had an extra dosing head, one of my GHL dosers. So I hooked it up to the auto top off reservoir, my RODI reservoir that normally is where the ATO is pulling from. So I just put it in. I jury rigged it into the GHL doser, and whenever I needed to hit up a little top off, I just remotely did it on my phone via the GHL app. It was
Yeah.
awesome,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Definitely helps. It definitely helps.
Yeah, I even got a doser. So I do Kalkwasser, and I also use calcium reactors, and I also have a alkalinity component set up on a doser too, just in case I need it. So if like my alkalinity
Yeah.
gets too
For
low,
redundancy.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so if for some reason the Kalkwasser I can't get the Kalkwasser and the calcium reactor to maintain what I like in terms of the DKH, but I can always hit it with
Yeah.
the remotely with the ESV Kalk or alkalinity, which is really cool.
Yeah. I do the same thing actually.
It's good, right, to have like backups and redundancy if you're traveling a
Oh
lot.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. Definitely need some redundancy if possible.
Doghouse Reaver, love your videos. Coralito, great live chat for my birthday today. Doghouse Reaver, happy
Oh,
birthday.
happy birthday.
Um,
If you're in South Florida, when I come back, go to the house. I'll give you some frags for your birthday.
nice. So,
If you're in South Florida, though, I'm not shipping.
yeah, now I know shipping is like, I ship, and I shipped yesterday to a customer in California, and the temperature there was 106 degrees. So
Yeah.
it can be a little nerve-wracking. What was I going to ask you again? What else did anybody else have any questions out there for Rocky? I know
Mm.
we're kind of getting a little bit into the wee hours there for you. So I want to be mindful of that. Oh yeah, other favorite corals like LPS. What about LPS?
LPS. Definitely I love the hammers, the euphyllias. Oh, they're called now what's that? Frimbiphilia
I don't
something.
even know.
But yeah, the hammers. Yeah, they. I don't know. I'm not into names, so, but yeah, hammers.
What
There's just so many, colors and
Different
patterns too, just like, acros.
morphs? Yeah, 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 yeah. What
Yeah.
so you got you're going to be getting the splice, rainbow splice. Any other corals out there that you're looking to acquire?
Oh, I actually started to think because also, well, I don't want to say because people told me to get some high-end corals because I have like no names corals in the tank, but it's nice. Even though I'm not into naming game, it's nice to have, high ends in the corals. So yeah, I would definitely love to have them too. But yeah, I would probably forget the names though.
I hear you. So with all the hammers, do you have torch corals too? I think I saw some torch corals in there.
Yeah, I have torch
Have you
corals too.
ever?
I have like
Go ahead.
mhm. I have like three types of torches. I think four, three, four. Yeah.
Have you ever had to deal with any like brown jelly disease?
Oh yeah. If you would tell me that no one has that, I'm not gonna believe you. But yeah,
What?
yeah, definitely. I had some brown jellies before, multiple times. But now that I know about the KFC dip, if I see some, some a little bit of early signs, I do it and they get back happy.
Do you do any dipping? I mean, so what's your protocol when you're bringing in new corals in terms of dips and what have you?
Um, yeah, definitely dip with their wherever you get a chorus, definitely dip. Even if you're getting it from me. um, so definitely. So what I would do is if I'm getting a new frag, I would float it first on the sump, and then to acclimate with the temp, and then I would slowly acclimate with the salinity, um, or pH with the tank water. So I put it in the container with the water in the bag, and then remove a little bit of the water from the bag, and then slowly put water from a tank, and then from there I would put, my dipping such as the Coral RX or Revive.
Gotcha.
But now I recently, um, because I'm kind of scared about the bugs, the red bugs and the black
Yeah.
bugs, because that's gonna be a nightmare to have, especially with the acro. So I recently test. It's like the interceptor, but you don't need a what they call, you don't need a prescription. I got it from Tractor Supply. I forget the name. It's also for the worms, for pigs. I forget the name, but it's not interceptor.
Oh,
Uh,
it's okay.
but I but it kind of does the same thing. So it would kill everything in the water, including the pods.
Oh, yeah. That's the negative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
But I mean, but yeah. So I definitely don't want any, even the good pods. I don't want them when buying new frogs. I want everything
yeah.
dead. except for the
Yeah.
corals.
I
Yeah.
hear you. Great Bearded Reef, Paul says a reclassification of the hammer corals is the Fimbriaphila ancora, if I pronounce that correctly.
Okay. Yeah.
Hyderspace LLC. Rocky, have you tried any Acropora speciosa? If so, curious how it did with the higher nutrient levels.
Actually, I don't have, but I have a guy. I asked him if he can get me because they're so expensive, and to me, it's kind of pathetic. But I kind of understand that they're expensive, but I will not buy them that much. But I'm waiting for it to go down. But you know, but no, I haven't. I don't have a special so yet, but I definitely would love to have some.
Gotcha.
But they're expensive.
Yeah. There are some pricey corals out there for sure.
Mhm.
So in terms of all the corals you have in your tank, there's got to be some coral warfare going on, right? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, actually sitting here, I'm thinking about my corals fighting. It definitely sucks to see the corals fighting, especially the acropora, because they're encrusting, and when they encrust, it's kind of like hard to remove them. So right now, because I'm only 3 years in the reefing, so they kind of like just started to do that. So right now I kind of like just let them, but if I let them, one of them may die. I had that happen once, but yeah, it's kind of sad. But I guess I would just like have to maybe put some glue around it so they kind of stop a little bit, but you gotta do it constantly. But yeah, it
It's got to
sucks.
be a constant battle, but you know what? That's what you get when you have a successful reef tank. Is there's always
Yeah.
something. There's always
Yes.
something.
Yeah.
Great Bearded Reef. I've had my eye on a sick-looking speciosa, but like everyone says, not for that money.
Yeah. Plus, they said it's kind of they're not easy to keep yet. I don't know, but we'll see. I know a lot of people out there are a lot of vendors are out there are experimenting. So hopefully we get to see them more often, and they're successful with keeping them. So maybe they'll lower the prices soon.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that happens in terms of the corals, like the big popular corals out
Hmm.
there, and all the craze. You get the high
Yeah.
prices, and then all of a sudden they'll go down. They'll just start being more of
Yes.
them. Um, yeah. Thanks, Paul. Make sure to hit that like button, folks, for sure. Um, and Paul also mentioned something about a frag tank. So I know you've got a few other tanks, right, Rocky, in the house.
Yeah,
You want to just give us a quick lowdown in terms of what else you got?
I have four other small tanks. Three of them are sponsored by e-shops. Of course, I love e-shops, so I try to make their tanks beautiful because that's like the best I can do for them because they take care of me. So of course, by doing that, I take care of them by making their tanks beautiful in my house because you have to understand it's also like a marketing strategy for them, but that's how it works.
Yeah.
Your Instagram, so you're on Instagram, so they would reach out to you to set up some tanks, and that's how that is just how it works. So yeah, I have three three e-shop tanks, and I make sure that they're beautiful because marketing. Hi, e-shops. um so yeah, I have the mixed desk mate with a bird's nest and some LPS, and then I have their new Mariner, so it's 11-gallon all-in-one tank with the anemones and macroalgae, and then I have their drop-off tank too.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Um, Here's a good question. Great Beard Reef is wondering, how old are you, Rocky? You don't want to give that out? You don't have to.
I
You don't have to answer
I'm
that question
32.
if you don't want to.
I'm 32 years old.
32 years old. Wow. Very impressive, man. Very, very impressive. For sure. So Rocky, man, it is now 2:15 in the morning where you're at, and I don't want to keep you up much later because that would not be cool. You do have to work tomorrow. But anything else you wanted to share with us before we sign off there tonight?
Definitely keep an eye out on the TSA SmackDown, whoever wins. But I would just be happy if my frags all make it to the end.
Yeah, you're already a winner.
because all of us can grow SPS, but all of us can kill SPS too. So that's it. So I just my plan is to just keep them alive.
$2,500 worth of frags, you keep them alive.
Yeah,
That's that's a big win in my book. That's a big win. What does the winner get?
Oh, the winner gets a complete aquarium package worth $3,000.
So you're gonna get if you win, you would get another tank.
Another tank for me. So that would be my sixth tank. So in 6 months, I'm gonna have my sixth tank.
Oh, you're predicting a win there, huh?
No, I'm just kidding. It's a friendly competition. We always do it.
Yeah, you got to talk smack, right? You gotta.
Yes.
That's part of the deal, right? So are you finding it tough to maintain all these tanks? Well, you're not doing water changes, so that's easier, right?
Yes. Even with these small tanks, I don't really do water change because what I do is I take the water from the big tank. So I actually exchange them. So I kind of do water change, but I'm not making new water.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you one other final question that I had for you that just completely... if you could start a dream tank, what would that dream tank look like?
My dream tank. Maybe I would say the same tank as I have, but a little shorter, so I can reach the bottom.
I tell you, I dig my peninsula tank is 6 foot long by 3 foot wide, and it's only 20 inches tall, and I love it. I love it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a dream tank right there.
Yeah, I love it. So, Rocky, man, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight. I really appreciate the fact that you were up in the wee hours of the morning in Germany there. But thank you, dude. Really appreciate it. So, anyway, that's going to do it for this live stream tonight. Again, thanks to Rocky for being on the show. I also want to thank both Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine for being sponsors of this show and supporting it. Also want to thank all you folks out there for tuning in and participating via the chat. Thank you very much. I also want to give a big thank you to Paul, who is the moderator and also the president of the Boston Reefer Society. Please join and support your local reefing clubs. They are so important to this hobby. I also want to let you know that all episodes of Rappin' With ReefBum are available as podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Amazon. My next Rappin' With ReefBum live stream will be next week, Thursday, August 3rd. I can't believe it's already August, coming up at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with, speaking of Top Shelf Aquatics, Kevin Berta will be on the show again. So that should be another great show. If you want to check out the full upcoming schedule of guests, visit reefbum.com under the YouTube section. Until then, be safe and be well. Later.